Hello and welcome back to Continental Club. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2022 from the East Dulwich Tavern in East Dulwich. Thank you very much once again for having us, guys. And for your viewing pleasure, we've got Michael McCubbin and Henry Hill. Woo! Yes. How are we doing, guys? New year, new start, same pub, same format. How are we doing, Henry?
Certainly. Yeah, good, thank you.
Good.
We should make that a normal intro, I think. No, I had fun. I played five-a-side for the first time last night in 2022.
Was that with Zach and the lads?
No. I've sadly moved
them.
away from that. Slightly better one. Which, the first time, mainly the first real exercise I've done this year, I'd say. And I'd heard rumours that one of the players on our team was a former professional.
Really?
International.
What?
And sure enough, we had this bloke from New Zealand turn up called Liam Graham. For all of the Auckland City fans out there, Liam Graham, former Monza. He didn't have a particularly amazing career, but he had 4 caps for New Zealand. And he scored 5 goals, and it was great. He was unbelievable. He was a right back, or he was a full back, but he.
Did he tell you any stories about Chris Wood?
I didn't realise at first because he was just basically not passing, just trying to run and score. And I thought, oh, this guy's a bit selfish.
I don't really like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he scored like 2 unbelievable goals. And then at half time, someone said to me, by the way, you know he's capped 4 times for New Zealand. I was like, wait a minute. And then at the second half, he scored another 5, and the other team were just trying to hack him down for fun. And it was great.
Love it.
Any other ex-pros out there living in London looking to play for a team, we're happy to take you because absolute cheat code.
But you say former Monza, is that what Auckland City are called?
No. So he was at Monza in Italy, and then and he was played for a few Italian teams.
Where the racing is?
Yes, I think it's where Balotelli ended up most recently, and then he was most played for Auckland City from 2017, and then I think his first cap came against Mexico for New Zealand. It's pretty cool.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that was a real highlight of my day. Sorry, slightly long introduction.
No, I like it. McCubbs, have you been rubbing shoulders with any celebrities over the Christmas break?
No, I've actually not.
Family,
unfortunately, yeah, it's family. Although they're celebrities in my eyes.
Superman.
I did actually rub shoulders with. I did actually play. I actually did play some five-a-side with Zach Jalab from Chelsea TV.
Really?
On the 2nd of January,
Zach Jalab?
So that was good. A bit starstruck, but yeah. Otherwise, had a good break. 2022. You know.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Here we bloody go. And to kick off 2022, we've got a January transfer window special, specifically the weirdest moves and weirdest transfer rumours. Actually, January has already started in quite a good fashion, considering it's normally quite a quiet window, but we've seen Kieran Trippier go to Newcastle, Mikolenko and Patterson go to Everton, who have suddenly decided they do have money. Akone's gone to Fiorentina, Cuisance to Venezia, which is quite a drop down for him, but fair play to Venezia. Ricardo Pepi, who I know Henry's a big fan of, has gone to Augsburg. Rafinha's gone to Real Sociedad, and Ferran Torres to Barcelona, although he still can't be registered as of today, which suggests not too bad a start to the window. But there are some weird rumours going around which we wanted to dive into on today's episode, separate the wheat from the chaff, see whether there's any reality in them. Let's kick off with Mauro Icardi, McCubbs, to your beloved Man United. And this comes in from @Dries Beanarts. What are we making of this? Surely this can't actually be real.
Yeah, it seems weird, doesn't it? I mean, Icardi has been linked with United on a number of occasions over the last few years. It's never really felt like anything super concrete. But this is coming in from a PSG journalist, Adrien Grenier, who's claiming that United are interested in him. Obviously, Cavani looks like he wants to leave. Martial obviously wants to leave this month.
The whole squad, no, isn't it?
Well, 17 players apparently. Went from 11 to 17 players, which I find a little bit hard to believe somehow. But who knows? To be honest, it's all a bit strange at United at this moment.
I wonder who are the 8 that want to stay. Maybe Philip Jones.
Phil Jones. He's finally been given his chance again by the wonderful Ralph Rangnick. So it's hard to pick out. It just seems a bit illogical, doesn't it? Like that many players would want to leave a club that's many of those players who will not be able to get as good a wage again in their careers. Let's face it. So it does seem a little odd. So does this transfer rumour. I mean, on a kind of very on a kind of non-footballing level, it doesn't make sense because obviously Mauro Icardi has often attracted controversy. Obviously, we saw that in his time at Inter. And he had a good start to life at PSG as well, but since then it's been pretty patchy, hasn't it? Last season in particular was really bad for him after that 14, but after they made that loan move permanent. Stylistically as well, like I feel like he's not, well, first of all, he's not a particularly keen presser. He's very much an in-the-box poacher, isn't he? Which United could, that doesn't necessarily, United have been playing with Ronaldo over the last few months. I think he arguably does more in build-up than Icardi, but the talent is there to be able to feed a player like Icardi, but I don't think the style of the team really suits him in that sense. And I think, if you're going to have someone like Icardi come in, I think you kind of need a team that's already got its kind of attacking patterns worked out. It's already got a very efficient way of getting the ball into the box, and Man United just simply don't have that at the moment. I think this is just, it's a load of rubbish. And even if it wasn't, I think, it's not the kind of player that United should be going for right now.
Yeah, I mean, his returns have diminished year on year in the last few years. Not just his sort of attacking numbers in terms of raw statistics, but his underlying numbers as well. His shots have really dropped down to quite average levels. I think his expected goals this season is only topped by Ronaldo in the Man United squad, but it's still not the sort of numbers that would make you go, United really need to sign another immobile penalty box predator, in my opinion. So I'm not for this at all. I mean, Henry, there has been talk about Julian Alvarez potentially coming in. He's been smashing it at River Plate. I mean, surely that would make more sense than Mauro Icardi?
Yeah.
If anyone?
Well, I mean, it would make more sense for Manchester United in the sense of Rangnick doesn't look to... he wants to develop players. I think that's the idea he wants to bring to the club. I mean, I was reading him talk about why he said no to AC Milan because he was like, what am I going to do with 38-year-old Ibrahimovic? That's just completely against the ethos of what he's going for, which is interesting that he's really taken to Cavani in that sense. Clearly, Cavani is just a consummate professional, and I think he really appreciates the sort of selflessness in that regard. But yeah, Julian Alvarez would be more fitting, as you say. €25 million release clause, 36 goals and 25 assists in 96 games for his club, which shows that he's got a bit of everything there. River Plate to United, though, is a huge step up.
Yeah,
I mean, we've seen players like Amad Diallo not even feature since coming over from Atalanta for similar fees, and I think we see a lot of these kind of 30, 25 million signings go under the radar because it's development signings, but that's still a hell of a lot of money for a club, and you could do a lot of damage with that kind of cash. And so I'm not sure what United are going to be able to get to improve their options, but I agree. I'm not Icardi. Yeah, I think that's just not the match at all for a club like United at this point in time. I think Icardi to Juventus would make a lot more sense. A league he's obviously done very well in, and Juventus do desperately need a striker. Morata's only on 5, Dybala on 5 as well. Icardi could go there and I think do quite well, because I actually think he just needs some game time. He's got Messi arriving has really sort of thrown him off. He's, I think, started 7 games, 8 appearances off the bench in Liga in the season. He's a pretty decent scorer, let's face it, when he does play. Not for United, for Juventus, I think he could be an excellent choice.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think his signing at PSG just stank of Leonardo, didn't it? It didn't seem like Tuchel really wanted him when he first arrived there. I think that created quite a few issues in that transfer window. It hasn't really picked up for him since his departure either. Let's move on to Coutinho to Aston Villa, one of the hot topics of this week. He's been linked with a number of Premier League clubs, although my sources can confirm that doesn't include Liverpool and Spurs. They are not interested in him. But Aston Villa is a potential, and MKFootball_05 wants us to talk about it. Henry, you are relatively pro this move.
Yeah, I think it'd be really cool. It'd be really fun. I know a lot of people think this is going to be a massive step down for Coutinho, but I think he's at a point where he just needs to play football. And he still is a very good player, I think, on his day. I agree that injury-wise, he's been a bit scuppered at late, but I still think even at Bayern, he showed a lot of potential, and I think he just needs someone to really throw an arm around him and give him an opportunity. Could that be Gerrard at Aston Villa? Why not? They've got the capacity to pay relatively big wages, I think, certainly under the Wes Edens and Sawiris ownership at the moment. They could certainly take a chunk, definitely not the full whack that he's on at Barcelona at the moment. That's going to be very difficult to match for any club. So I think Aston Villa could convince him to go there. Gerrard could get him there. And I know what you're saying about Buendia maybe they've already bought like a certain creator. But actually, Buendia played most of his best football for Norwich on the wing. He was more of like a right winger, and that's where he mainly operated. So I think Coutinho, there is potentially a spot to play in behind the forwards. And just imagine that squad if someone like Coutinho went in there. Buendia, don't get me wrong, great player, but he was someone who was crushing it in the Championship and one season in the Premier League. You bring Coutinho into that squad and they've really got a star on their hands. And I think that's the kind of signing that could elevate the squad. And Coutinho is someone that needs to really prove it as well. He's not one of these kind of personalities, I think, which disrupts the dressing room or is particularly sort of arrogant. So yeah, I'd be quite intrigued to see if they can make that work and slot him inside there. I think Leon Bailey is actually the wrong fit for Aston Villa at the moment. If you think he's more of like a winger who likes to hug the touchlines a little bit. We've seen Gerrard, he really likes trying to get target and cash to put forward. So I actually think Leon Bailey is maybe the one that's slightly out of place at the club. A great player, but slightly out of place. Someone like Coutinho could slot in there with Buendia next to him. That's just how I see it at the moment. He's got 2 goals and 5 starts for Barcelona in La Liga this season. I think one of those goals was a penalty, so I'm not going to read too much into that. Obviously, his stats are all pretty low at the moment. 2 shots, 0.2 key passes, that is really low. But I think maybe given an opportunity to play a bit further forwards, link off people like Danny Ings, who was a brilliant finisher when sort of released, and even someone like Ollie Watkins, who's, I think his movement as much as anything makes him really effective. I think, I'd really like to see this happen. I just really want to see Coutinho play good football again, because I thought he was a brilliant. I even remember when Liverpool picked him up from Inter Milan for about £11 million. I thought, wow, that's an absolute steal. This guy's been highly rated for a long time. He showed what he could do at Liverpool. He got a really ridiculously large move to Barcelona. Hasn't quite worked out for various reasons. Played out of positions. Played under really the wrong manager. The previous guy before. Who was No, the one before that. Valverde. Forgive me. But he was more rigid in his sort of approach, and it didn't really facilitate someone like Coutinho, and it was always going to be difficult with Messi. So why not go to Aston Villa, even if it's for 6 months, 18 months, show what he can do, and if that goes well, then he could get one big move elsewhere, or he should go back to like Flamengo or something like that in Brazil.
Yeah, I like the romance of it, and he was phenomenal at Liverpool and in the early stages of his Barcelona career. I just worry about his body. Like, he has missed pretty much an entire season of football since that loan spell at Bayern, and he hasn't looked anywhere near his best this year. Now, he's obviously lost a lot of confidence, but with Messi's departure, you thought maybe he could, take more importance in this Barcelona team. He really hasn't got going at all this season. I think the right person to back in this scenario is probably the guy you spent £35 million on in Buendia, and trying to get that guy to work, because he's been pretty terrible, I would say, so far this season. I think his game against Brentford at the weekend was the first sign that he was slowly getting his game in gear. And do you really want to bring in Coutinho on a 6-month loan deal, who might not want to join Aston Villa permanently, who's just using you as a stepping stone? I'm not so sure, to be totally honest. And then if you play Coutinho as well, he obviously doesn't have the biggest defensive numbers either. Are you still going to play 4-3-3 and play him out on the left? Because that didn't really work at Barcelona. But do you want to play a number 10 and take out one of those midfielders? Because that's been one of the strong points of Gerrard, getting Nakamba and Douglas Luiz and McGinn going again in that midfield. So I just think it's quite a random move, made with not much foresight, really. But maybe Gerrard just really doesn't rate Buendia. I don't know. I mean, McCubbs, which side of the coin do you fall down on?
I think there's arguments for both. I think that the system is a difficult one. I think you would have to switch to maybe a 4-2-3-1, or have a central advanced midfielder in that midfield 3 for it to work. Unless Gerrard fancies himself as turning him back into a kind of inverted winger sort of thing, or a kind of wide left forward. But yeah, which is possible. I think the one thing going for it is, and this is a romantic view, but like, it does feel like Coutinho, more than anything, kind of needs a change of scene. I mean, we even saw at Bayern Munich, he was pretty effective when he played there under Hansi Flick, even though he didn't get much game time. I think injuries were a problem for him there as well, weren't they? And Steven Gerrard, who's obviously a friend of his, and they obviously shared, a 1.5 seasons, was it?
Yeah,
or two and a half.
2.5,
but that 13-14 season in particular was a pretty magical one, wasn't it? And I think Gerrard's proven that he's a pretty good man manager, pretty good motivator, and perhaps just a kind of change of scene for Coutinho is kind of what he needs. But I agree. I don't know whether he's necessarily the answer for Aston Villa. Like, I mean, he could end up being a really, talismanic figure, and just getting a good 6 months out of him, provided he stays fit, could be the difference between finishing 13th and finishing, I don't know, like 8th or 9th. So yeah, it's a gamble. It's a gamble. If I was a Villa fan, I would be. I don't know. I would. You know what? Why not? Like, let's get a superstar in for 6 months and see what happens. It's not like they have too much to lose with it, I guess. But I agree. It's a strange one. It doesn't. It's not like a 80-90% kind of move.
Another thing I think worth considering: the World Cup is in a year's time. Mm-hmm. He has a chance to be in that squad based on recent selection policies. He has featured for Brazil. So I think if he just puts together a solid year of actually just playing football, I don't think it necessarily matters that it's at Aston Villa relative to some of the other bigger sides. It's still playing in the Premier League. It's still performing in the toughest division in the world. If he can pull it off there, I think that gives him a wonderful opportunity to go to Qatar and feature. Whether or not he'd start for that Brazil side, I'm not sure, but at least be part of that squad. And that would be an incredible victory for someone like Coutinho, considering everything that's preceded, certainly since the most recent World Cup. I don't think he went to the last World Cup in...
I'm not sure.
In 2018, surely he did.
Surely.
Russia.
Unless he was injured.
Maybe not,
Yeah.
Forgive me. But yeah, I think just to get to the next World Cup would be a remarkable achievement, and I don't see why going to Aston Villa would be a hindrance to that at all, especially if he went to a bigger side and just didn't play. I mean, we saw at least James Rodriguez showed a bit of class when he went to Everton, and I think Coutinho would probably be a bit more of a committed professional than that.
No, I think from his perspective, it's a great move. It's just, if we're talking about the high point for Aston Villa is potentially finishing 8th or 9th, is that worth it if you're going to stop the development or take up the game time of Buendia or Bailey, or you have to change your system and become less defensively solid, which has already been a problem for Aston Villa so far this season. So, guys, let us know which side of the coin do you fall down.
They've been using Ramsey as well, haven't they, in the forward
Jacob
line as
Ramsey,
well, which
of course,
actually impressed at points.
He's been great.
So yeah, I do agree. Yeah, it's quite a congested forward line there, especially if you want to integrate both Ings and Watkins as well. So yeah, it would be a bit of a headache. I do agree with that.
It's a tricky one. Guys, let us know which side of the coin you fall down on. The pro side with Henry or the negative side with me, and a bit in the middle with the Cubs. Anyway, let's move on to our next one. Diego Carlos to Newcastle. This comes in from only one Chad. Now, according to the Telegraph, Newcastle are looking at a whole load of players to arrive in January after Trippier. These include Digne, Botman, Diego Carlos, Tarkowski, Lloyd Kelly, Rodon, Holgate, Phillips, Holding, Max Aarons, Winks, Elneny, Chowdhury, the list goes on. Includes Donny van der Beek, Aubameyang, Martial, Nketiah, Moussa Dembele, and Gabigol. What does that suggest? I think that suggests they don't have an absolute clue what they're doing, to be totally honest. It's whatever comes. So we shall see who comes in after Trippier. But Diego Carlos is an interesting one. Now, I find it really difficult to imagine why he'd swap a club that's in the Europa League and competing for La Liga now, given Real Madrid's result last weekend and Sevilla's result last weekend, for a club that are going to be in a relegation battle no matter who they bring in January. So I can't really see this happening. In terms of him as a player, Diego Carlos, I think he's a very solid all-round centre-back. His numbers are pretty good across the board. He does have a bit of a hot head. I think he's let himself down on quite a few occasions with his discipline. He always seems on the edge of a sending off. He's going to cost at least £40 million. I don't think it's the worst move. I just think it's slightly random, and I think they're maybe being a bit unrealistic. I would target James Tarkowski before Diego Carlos, because that just feels a little bit more likely. I mean, of the names I mentioned, guys, maybe McCubbs, you kick off. Do you think any of these are achievable, doable? Do you see any of them happening? I
mean, even Tarkowski, I swear, a few weeks ago, it was pretty much confirmed he was going to stay at Burnley, or at least it doesn't look like Burnley are going to sell. Again, like Dean, it looks like he's definitely not going to go, at least according to Fabrizio Romano. He's been very...
He said, no way.
Yeah, no way. That's his new catchphrase. Love that. I think Nat Phillips from Liverpool, I actually recommended him in that script I did on Newcastle last month.
Newcastle,
I think he'd be a really solid signing for them. He's going to be available for like £10 million this winter, there or thereabouts. Just a really solid centre back. Jurgen Klopp obviously famously said he's one of the most intelligent players he's worked with. Clearly has a good kind of football brain on him. Very solid in the air. Decent with the ball at his feet as well. He's the kind of player who I think Newcastle need to be going for. Like someone who desperately needs game time, isn't getting it, and has got very kind of a good recent track record when he has played. I think they obviously need some kind of calming presence in that defence. Because actually, going forward, I don't think they're that desperately in need. I think we kind of make out that Newcastle are like completely hapless everywhere now. Like they do have Callum Wilson and
Wilson
ASM.
is injured.
When's he back?
I think it's like a month or two.
Okay, all right. So yeah, I mean, in that sense, maybe someone to fill in for him. In that sense, but equally they've got a better attacking manager in now. Even before, even under Steve Bruce, actually their scoring record wasn't too bad. It's very much the defence that's been letting them down. So I think Diego Carlos seems ungettable. But yeah, someone like Nat Phillips I think would be a great pickup.
And going forward, Henry, what do you think about Nketiah? He seems like quite a sensible pickup if they could get him.
Yeah, I agree. It's just the difficulty is for a lot of these players is committing to a club that might get relegated. I think that's the bottom line. It looks to be a four-way battle, maybe five if you include Leeds. In that, I certainly think they can catch Watford if they keep on the right course they're on. And I think maybe this is going to be the year Burnley finally drop off, just not getting points over the line. Moussa Dembele, that could be an interesting option. He's not really played a whole lot of football recently. He still can score some decent goals for Lyon. He's popped up with a few this term. Gabigol is non-existent. Flamengo don't seem to want to let him go at all. But yeah, Nketiah's got an incredible record for England under 21s.
All-time top goal scorer.
Yeah, he's a good player. I'd love to. I think that would be a great pickup. I don't know. Maybe that kind of Joe Willett connection could be the kind of thing that drives it over. If they could get someone like Nketiah, that'd be great. But signing Trippier is brilliant as a way to kick off this whole set of deals. Like they've picked up the best right back last season in La Liga, and I think he will go there and make a difference. I think he's genuinely a huge upgrade on Manquillo and whoever else they've got in that position. And yeah, I mean, up front I'm not too sure, but I completely agree with you. Someone like Rodon, Holgate, Phillips, these are the players they should be going for. The problem is they all seem to be coming with like a £20 million price tag at the moment. I saw that apparently that's what Tottenham want for Rodon, who's hardly kicked a ball since he's went there. I think to suggest that they need to pay any more than they paid Swansea for him is a bit of a joke. So,
did they pay 14 mil if I made that up?
I think they paid. Yeah, I don't think they paid much less than 20 mil.
Yeah, it was quite expensive, I seem to remember. Yeah. Anyway, let's see with Newcastle. It's going to be a fascinating month for them. I'm sure we'll keep you abreast across Football Daily. Let's move on to another suggestion. Naby Keita to Bayern. Now, Sky sources can report that Naby Keita doesn't want to go anywhere, apparently. And yeah, so I'm sort of putting a pin in it. I could put a plug in it if I wanted to, but putting a pin in this. He's not going anywhere. Does have a contract until 2023, but it is interesting that Bayern are looking at central midfielders. I think obviously they've had some injury issues with Joshua Kimmich on the back of his COVID. Goretzka's currently out as well. Sabitz is still 27, and I feel like Tolisso still hasn't signed that new deal, so it looks like he's going to go at the end of the window. So they are looking at another central midfielder. Naby Keita obviously has a phenomenal record and reputation in Germany after his spell with RB Leipzig, where he was, an outstanding player. Just hasn't quite managed to put it together at Liverpool so far, although has looked a little bit better when fit this season. So Naby Keita to Bayern, we'll see what happens there. Got a couple of others just to finish off this section. Marc-Andre Ter Stegen to Chelsea. Now this is one that I've seen in a few different places, not normally very reputable sources. Henry, this seems a little bit random.
It does seem random, and I don't think it's going to happen in January, but I could see it happening at some point. I could definitely see that.
Do you think they'll upgrade Edouard Mendy?
The other day, I think on this show, I was asked if I thought he was world class or not, and I got so much abuse in the comments for suggesting he wasn't. I mean, Ter Stegen is a better keeper than Edouard Mendy, and I
think Edouard Mendy's had a better last 12 months, though.
I agree, maybe, but I think if Chelsea had that much, they just made a huge loss, didn't they, in their last year?
Massive.
But if they were really desperate to upgrade their goalkeeper, I think this might be an interesting avenue to explore. They don't need to upgrade. That was the point I was saying about Mendy. They don't actually need to upgrade him. He's fine. He's doing a perfectly reasonable job behind that defence. But yeah, that's not the weirdest rumour I've ever seen. It would just be strange for them to sanction a massive move for it right now. Ainsley Maitland-Niles to Roma. I mean, that's kind of cool. That's funny. I'm loving this English contingent in Roma
Go
right
join
now.
Tammy and Small.
Shows there's English revolution, man. Yeah.
You like Maitland-Niles to Roma?
I really like it. Yeah, I really like Maitland-Niles. I think Maitland-Niles gets a hard time. I think he's quite a sound defensive right back. He is capable of playing central midfield. I know. I probably don't watch enough. I don't watch enough Arsenal. I've seen a lot of Arsenal fans hate on him, kind of in midfield. But whenever I have seen him play in midfield, I feel like he's very capable. That's his natural position. And going to a new league, as we've seen for a number of players who have kind of struggled in England and elsewhere, especially in Italy, can be a really good thing. And Roma need reinforcements. Roma need reinforcements at right back and in midfield, actually. So yeah, I think he'd be a really good kind of Swiss Army knife for them, for sure.
There we have it. Roma fans, get excited. Ainsley Maitland-Niles, he's coming to revolutionise the Giallorossi. Guys, what do you think about our weird transfer rumours and where players should go? Let us know in the comments down below. And let's move on to the first big match predictions of 2022. So, big match predictions are back for 2022 and the scores on the doors. At the moment, Doogie on 15, myself. Sounds a bit weird calling myself Doogie. Anyway, Henry on 14 just behind. Ooh. And McCurbs, work to do, mate, on 8.
That's all right. A couple of perfect scores, I'll be back.
Long way to go. But that, it did show, was it the week before Christmas? Henry got something like 7 points and it completely changed his game. Anyway, all to play for. But kicking off this year's big match predictions, we are talking Inter Milan versus Lazio, which is on Sunday night at 7:45. It is first versus 8th, surprisingly, in Serie A. I'd sort of forgotten that Lazio had slipped so far. There is a round of fixtures, just as we're filming this on Thursday. Inter Milan are away at Bologna. Lazio host Empoli. There's also Milan versus Roma and Juve versus Napoli. So the Serie A fixture gods giving us an absolute treat to start the year. So maybe the table and what we're talking about will be slightly different out of a game. But it feels like, Henry, we can probably confidently say that Inter are going to get a win against Bologna. I mean, they have been in excellent form.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they will definitely beat Bologna. They've been all right this season, Bologna. I think Hickey's doing brilliantly this season. Seems to be getting interest from Aston Villa. That's what I've been reading. Gerrard wants him to. Hickey and Coutinho, the dream duo. So I definitely back them to win that game. And just in general, Inter looking so good. They're 4 points clear at the time of writing. That obviously could change by the time this video goes out. They've scored 9 more goals than Milan. And only Napoli have conceded fewer than their sort of 15, and that's only by 1 goal as well. So really solid going forward and in defence. Simone Inzaghi, I think you said it the other day, really, really professional manager, just showing his absolute class. Did very well with the Lazio squad where it didn't have tons of investment, really elevated a lot of players, and I think he's doing the same again. The only thing that I think is going to hold Inter back at the moment is how busy their January is. They've got 6 games in 16 days between the 6th and the 22nd. So that's a hell of a lot of football, but I also think they've got the squad depth to deal with it as well. If you think about Di Marco on the right fullback, him and Dumfries can sort of switch and etc. And I think it's the same elsewhere with Perisic available to go into the left back. So yeah, they've got the personnel to kind of cope with this situation, and I think Lazio have been so hit and miss this season that Inter certainly are going to be able to get the better of them in this game. For me personally, I'll probably go for a solid 2-0 victory.
2-0, okay. McCubbs, I mean, could you see a shock in this one? Lazio did, after all, beat Inter in October.
Yeah, I mean, that was a classic, wasn't it?
A very heated game.
Yeah, they came back from 1-0 down. And I mean, thinking, Immobile is one of the toughest attackers in the league, as he's shown over the last few years. The likes of Felipe Anderson and Pedro have also been pretty good this season. But equally, I think that victory came at a time when Inter were not at the level that they're at now. Yeah. And I just feel like they're really on a roll. I don't know, maybe the Christmas break might have done something to that. Dzeko's obviously a doubt with COVID. I don't know whether by the time you're watching this, maybe that'll be a bit clearer as to the situation with him. So that would be a bonus for Lazio. But equally, I just think that Inter attack still can function quite well without him. I think Lautaro has shown that he's a much more adept goal scorer than we thought he was perhaps before. I think he's averaging something like 0.95 XG this season, XG per 90. I think that's a better XG rate than Haaland this term, which is pretty frightening. Albeit I think he's taken more penalties. But nevertheless, the Inter attacking juggernaut is really up there with the best in Europe right now. So yeah, I can't see this being anything other than an Inter win. I'll say 3-1.
3-1 to Inter. Okay, yeah. I mean, it's difficult to back Lazio. They've been so up and down this year, as Henry rightly points out. Already lost to Milan and Napoli away from home as well. I can't see it. I'm afraid I can't even see a draw in this one. You guys went 3-1 and 2-0. Two good scores, actually, annoyingly from you.
Classic scores.
Why not? I'll go 3-0. Yeah, 3-0 Inter. As the police go past us in East Dulwich. Let's move on to Lyon versus PSG, which is also at 7:45 on Sunday night. But I know which game I would rather be watching, to be totally honest, because Lyon, Henry, in 13th.
Yeah.
Shocking.
Real shame, actually.
Yeah.
So I think Peter Bosz going there, it could be quite exciting. They do have a good squad. I thought signing Shaqiri this summer was a solid addition. Guimarães Guimarães in midfield next to Kakare.
Linked with Everton.
Yeah. Husamawa.
Maybe a brilliant signing.
All good players, but I just think the way that Peter Bosz likes to play is just so open and expansive. Ikombi as well up front, really good player. But they haven't been able to put it together at all. 1 win since the start of November. 6. No, that's not. Lyon are a club that need to finish in the higher end of the table. They're one of the more established clubs. I think their wage bill is probably significantly higher than the others. They've suffered in recent seasons by not making Champions League football. We've seen Aoular lose his head a little bit recently, and they've had points deducted. I think there was more fan issues the other day in another match. I think in the cup game which they had recently. So they're all over the shot. That Lyon are in a bit of a problem at the moment, and they're 9 points off third place, 7 points from the relegation playoff. I don't think they're in danger of dropping that low. I mean, people like Paqueta as well look class. So yeah, so many good players. They should be doing a lot better. And if Peter Bosz can't sort it out, there's definitely going to be a manager that will want that job, because Lyon are a really promising side. I think for most middling managers, sort of upper middling managers, I should say. They're a good team. So yeah, but almost in a funny way, I want to back them to do something against PSG. Do you know what I mean?
Go crazy, man.
No, just because I've breathing down your neck on the scores.
Lose your head.
I'm going to go for a draw. I'm going to go for 1-1.
A painful draw by the looks of things. You're almost taking your eyeball out there.
I just don't think that PSG... What am I saying?
You said it now. There's no backsies.
I know. I feel that a bit. I think
you
that's,
both
I think
going
there's
for a
an
draw?
argument there. I'm not going to go for a draw, but I support you going for a draw.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I'll go for a draw just because I think whenever a team plays PSG, there's always something else to it. I think it's such like a significant fixture in the calendar, and I think irrelevant of form sometimes it can almost be that turning point for a team, and maybe this could be the game that Lyon go and show something. They've got enough class to certainly score goals against this PSG side. Whether or not they can win, I don't think so. But yeah, that's why I'm going to go for a draw, 1-1. And this could be the game changer when it comes to overtaking you.
Okay, do you want my prediction?
Yeah.
That Peter Bosz will be fired if they don't win this.
Wow.
Okay.
Or if they lose heavily.
Bonus
I just
point.
think Christmas break, they've been in terrible form. Like, Niko Kovac got sacked by Monaco. Aoular would have seen that and been like, Monaco making decisive moves. They would have definitely been sounding out managers over the Christmas break. I think Bosz has, if not this weekend, he'll be fired in the next 2. Should their results not significantly pick up. So for that reason, I'm going with a 2-0 PSG win, even though they don't have Draxler and Neymar.
And are you going to give yourself a bonus point if Bosz gets sacked as well?
Should I? If Bosz gets fired after this match, I think I should.
No, I don't know.
I think that's 5 points for a perfect sacking.
All right, okay.
Let's see.
Do I stick my neck out and say that as well? Yeah, I've now regretted actually. I wrote our predictions for 2022 and Peter Bosz completely went over my head. Definitely should have put him down to get sacked this year. Not that I'm wishing it upon him. I hope he can turn things around.
That's not what he says off camera.
I hate the guy. I think. Yeah, I can't see anything other than a PSG. Well, I don't know. I could see. Yeah, I could see it. It's one of those things. Yeah, like after a break, PSG might be a bit rusty. Messi, Bernat, and Sergio Rico have COVID.
They might be back.
But I don't know.
But you never really know with COVID, do you?
Yeah. I'll go for a 2-1 PSG win. I think they might just scrape it actually.
Just a quick prediction. Lille are going to finish in the Champions League spots.
Okay. Everyone adding stuff this week. I love it.
They're unbeaten in 11. They're in unbelievable form. Their expected points was just way off. Like they were meant to be in the top 3. They just haven't been getting results. They've turned that around, turned a corner, won their Champions League group. Lille finishing in Champions League spots. That's my prediction.
Okay, nice. And our final game, which we're just going to talk about briefly, because I think there's apparently quite a good chance it will be called off because of COVID, is Bayern versus Gladbach, which goes on tonight. It's first versus 14th in the table, similar to Lyon. Gladbach in 14th. What is going on? But yeah, listen to this from Bayern. Komor, Neuer, Tolisso, Sane, Upamecano, Luka Hernandez, and Tanguy Nianzou all have COVID. Goretzka and Stanisic are also out with separate injuries as well. But if it does go ahead, McCubs, I mean, Gladbach beat them in the Pokal. They've got a little bit of a weirdly positive record against them.
Yeah, that was obviously an impressive win. But they have been absolute rubbish otherwise, haven't they, this season? I'm afraid to say. Adi Hutter is someone who I tipped maybe to lose his job this season. Again,
the Grim Reaper McCubs.
Yeah, and actually it could. I do kind of feel like it is something that could happen in the next month or so because they're 2 points off the relegation playoff. They've had their fair share of hammerings themselves. I think they've lost by 4 goals or more 4 times this season. So that 5-0 win over Bayern really does seem like a bit of a fluke in that sense, or at least not indicative of their form overall. They've lost 8 league games. Only 3 other teams have lost more in the league. That includes obviously Fürth, who are a bit of an anomaly themselves. Their defence has been pretty shocking. I think the problem with Gladbach is that we kind of thought, I don't know, like they obviously struggled at the end of last season under Rosa, and we thought maybe getting Hutter in there might at least be able to revitalise their attack because he has such a good record with doing so, with getting attacking players to play out of their skin and overperform, but it just hasn't happened. And I think the makeup of that forward line just doesn't seem to be working. Like players like Marcus Thuram and Breel Bolo just look some way off the kind of form that we saw of them like 2 years ago. Yeah, Alisson Player can be added to that as well. And they haven't been the most fortunate with injuries, I guess, as well. But equally, I feel like this could be another ugly one. I think Bayern will be out for blood as well after that Pokal loss. Equally, they do have a lot of players out, but they still have some pretty quality players who would be able to start. So if this goes ahead, I think it'll be like 3-0 Bayern.
Oh, okay. Henry, you in agreement with that? You going higher, lower?
Pretty much.
Sticking, twisting?
I was just thinking, even with the injuries, they could go a front 3 of Lewandowski, Musiala, and Gnabry, and that for me is enough to destroy.
To destroy them.
Not just beat them, to destroy them.
Well, yeah, I mean, Gladbach, it looks like they might lose Zakaria. Matthias Ginter looks like he's off to Inter.
Neuhaus is in and out.
Yeah, Ginter looks like he's off to Inter at the end of the season, which I think is really good.
Ginter to Inter.
Ginter to Inter, very nice. I like that. And I can't see sort of Thuram sticking around there much longer. Fair play for mentioning Fürth, by the way. I think 1 win all year, and they went wild when they beat Union Berlin the other day. I think they're on course for the worst effort season in German football at the moment.
Really? Worse than Schalke?
But like, the difference is Schalke were just awful. I think Fürth have really tried. They've just not at that level. It's impossible for them. I was reading about it. They were buying players from like the 3rd division and the 2nd division going into this. So they're really up against it. It's just, but they've got like a really good spirit about the place as well. It's just unfortunate they're in this is meant to be like a big crowning moment for the club, but it's gone a bit wrong. But fair play to that. But I agree, I'm going to go for a 3-0 victory in this game.
Matching it.
Matching, okay.
What did you say?
I said 3-0 as well.
Did you?
Yeah, go for it.
We can go for 3-0. You can go for it.
We can share the points. We can share the 3 points when they come around.
3-0.
1.5 each, okay, for you guys. I mean, Bayern are just an absolute machine. I really hope we see a totemic clash, maybe. Is that even a word? Anyway, them against Man City, I'd love to see it in the Champions League at some stage this year.
Yeah.
Bayern Man City would be my absolute dream. They've scored the most goals in Europe. They've got the joint best goal difference along with Man City, despite playing 4 fewer matches than them. I think they're an absolute machine. Let's see what these injuries do to them. But yeah, I'm going for quite a comprehensive win. You guys have gone 3-0. I'll just go 2-0. Given the injuries. But yeah, Bayern for the win. Guys, we are not doing quickfire questions this week because we have been talking on for ages. And James, our cameraman, producer, handyman extraordinaire behind the camera needs to get back to his lovely son, Zach. So we're wrapping up there and then. But guys, I hope you guys have enjoyed Continental Club. Let us know what you guys thought of our comments in the comments section. McCubs, what do you recommend in terms of Football Daily videos and contents this week?
We put out an EFD Explained the other day about Atletico Madrid, about Diego Simeone and the problems he's been facing there. Obviously, they got a win on the weekend, so they've clawed some ground back on Real, but it hasn't been a great season for them, let's be honest. So little explainer on that. We've also got an explainer on the African Super League. If you've heard of that or not heard of that, that's worth checking out. I think that's coming out on Sunday. Isn't that when our EFD Explains come out?
They do.
Sunday, yeah. So stay tuned for that.
Nice. Ori?
Just the one. We did 5 interviews that almost ruined a career. All ruined a career, not sure, one of the two. But yeah, did a section on the Odemwingie sort of in his car.
That's the sort of story you'd love as well.
Yeah, no, that was fun. Thought that was more interesting than Harry Kane mouthing off to Gary Neville. Check that out on Football Daily, I think.
Nice. Thank you very much for watching, guys. We'll catch you next Friday. Actually, no, next Monday for ERU. Have a great weekend. Bye.